Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Sean Courtney, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Officer at TechSoup New Zealand. Our webinar today, Managing the New Zealand Charity Reporting Requirements with MYOB and Calxa, will be presented by Mick Devine, Founder and CEO of Calxa. If you have a question during the webinar, please type it in the question box on your GoToWebinar panel, and we'll aim to pause about halfway through to answer any questions that we might have. And we'll also try to save some discussion time at the end as well. Also, don't forget that a recording of today's presentation and a copy of the slides will be sent to you following the webinar, so you can review it at any time. And just before I hand over to Mick, Mick will be delivering the same presentation, only in a little more detail, in a full-day masterclass at our TechSoup New Zealand conference on the 11th of April. So to register for that and for more details, please check out our website at techsoup.net, .nz, and then /conference. So that's all from me. I'll now hand over to Mick. Thanks, Mick.
Thank you, Sean. Good afternoon, everybody. What I want to do today is talk about a little bit about the background to the reporting requirements, but I'm going to assume that most of you know what's required there, but I'll just give an overview just to make sure everybody's on the same page. Talk a little bit about the content of the reports, and then I'll talk about what we've done with MYOB, with pulling MYOB data out into Calxa and trying to automate as much as possible what we can of those reports and how to make it easier to produce them. And while there's a little bit of setup work the first time, I think we can be fairly confident that this is something that's going to be required this year, next year, the year after, and for many years to come. So I think it's worth investing a little bit of time in getting something up and running this year that's going to make your life a lot simpler next year and the following years. So let's have a look, and if I can make my screen work. Okay, so I've basically covered what's on that slide there, but so we've got some sample report bundles set up in a sample Calxa database, and it's fairly easy to then customize that to suit your needs. The first thing you need to know with these reports is what tier you're in, and our focus mainly has been with tier 3 and tier 4 organizations. So tier 4 organizations with total payments for the year under $125,000 report on a cash basis, and that's organizations with no public accountability, so in the sense of public funding. So tier 3 is payments from 125 up to $2 million, and the main change there is that the reports are on an accrual basis, and there's a bit more detail required in the reports. Tier 2 is for those people with turnover of more than $2 million. We haven't set up anything specific for tier 2 or tier 1. It doesn't mean we couldn't if we wanted to, and you know, I haven't had a look at the tier 1 reports because most of those people operate in a market where we don't operate. But tier 2, we have had some discussions with tier 2 organizations, especially where they're consolidating multiple organizations. But the reports are fairly similar to the tier 3 ones. There's just more detail, basically. So let's have a bit of a look of what's in those reports. So they all start with some sort of content page, and entity information. So who you are, what you do, address, phone number, contact details, that sort of stuff. Statement of service performance, that's about the things that you do. So the services you provide, how many of those services, that sort of thing. A statement of receipts and payments, so that's income coming in, payments going out, and on a cash basis at the tier 4 level. Resources and commitments, so essentially how much money have you got in the bank and what have you committed to other people, you know, what do you owe to other people for various reasons. And then there's a brief page or two on accounting policies and any notes of anything, which is the sort of odd and unusual things. And those accounting policies, for example, they're something that will stay the same from one year to the next, generally, you know, sometimes as you grow from being a tier 3 or a tier 4 organization to a tier 3 organization, you might need to change some of those accounting policies. But in most circumstances, once you've set those policies, they stay the same forever. Again, I guess the other time changes where there's some sort of change to accounting standards or regulations. So tier 3, very much similar, the organisation information to start with, the statement of service performance, statement of financial performance, that's the profit and loss statement basically, comparison to last year and ideally comparison to budget as well. Statement of financial position, that's the balance sheet, so the assets that you own, the liabilities of the organisation. Then the statement of cash flows, again with a comparison to last year, and again the accounting policies and notes, which in this case are a bit more detailed. They cover things like depreciation, that sort of thing. So when I will admit that when I first looked at this, I thought that's far too hard. We don't do this. But then my arm was twisted and I was told to look closer, and yes, I think we have got put together something that's considerably easier than doing all this with spreadsheets. Just for a bit of background on where we've come from, we've done a lot of work with not-for-profits, mostly in Australia over the last 15 years, providing reporting, so for monthly reporting needs, for grant acquittals, that sort of thing. And we've done some work in New Zealand, mostly through our association with TechSoup. We have a donation program where we give away the software to smaller organizations, and so that was where we got involved in the first place. We have a fairly long history of working with MYOB, but having said that, we also do integrate with Xero and with QuickBooks or Reckon as well. So if you're working with either of those, the principles of what we've got here will work also. You know, slight differences depending on whether you're using MYOB or one of the others, but they're minor differences compared to doing it in a spreadsheet or doing it manually. So the main thing to do in MYOB for this stuff is these are your end of year financial reports, so it's about cleaning up everything. Yeah, so especially your balance sheet, so make sure bank accounts are reconciled, asset accounts are reconciled, everything that can be reconciled to something external has been. The normal sort of good practice things that all finance people should be doing it at the end of the year. I mean, it's nice to do this stuff more often as well, you know, but and then I would recommend, if you haven't looked at MYOBs, you know, if you're still on the old MYOB Premier 19 or something, I would seriously have a look at their account right 2016 now, or it's about to be 2016. There's some time saving features in there, like bank feeds and other things, and we will shortly save you a couple of more button clicks by if you've got your MYOB data online, by automating the transfer of that into Calxa. But I'll talk about that a bit more in a moment. I used to be the king of spreadsheets. I wrote a whole inventory system for a hotel on a spreadsheet once, and I was really proud of myself and thought I was really clever, until I left that job, moved on to the next one. I rang my successor about 3 months afterwards to see how he was going. He said, "I got rid of that spreadsheet you did, it's far too complicated." And I think that's the trouble with spreadsheets. They're unduly complicated. It's hard to follow someone else's spreadsheet, and very easy to make mistakes even in your own spreadsheets. So the way Calxa works is to link to your MYOB or your Xero or Reckon. So and once that link's done, it's then just one button click to update the latest data from there. As I said, we are working on removing even that one button click at the moment, and that should be done in the next few weeks, where we'll, if your account online and your MYOB data's online, we'll be able to just pull it across automatically in the middle of the night while you're sleeping. Ideally for these reports, you should have budgets. If you've got budgets in MYOB, we can bring them in. If you've got budgets in spreadsheets, we can bring them in. If you haven't got any budgets at all, we do have a budget factor wizard, which will go through and in a few seconds take last year's data, add a percentage for income, cost of sales, expenses, and create a budget for you. And then when it comes to reporting, we have report bundles which batch together your reports, so that it's just one click to generate the whole list of reports. And whether that's for your annual reporting to what they're called now, Charities New Zealand, or the people who used to be the Charities Commission anyway, whether it's for that or for monthly or quarterly board reports and management reports, you just create a bundle of reports, one click to deliver it. So it's management reporting is what we do in Calxa. So that includes financial statements like the profit and loss, the balance sheet. We've got about 15 or so KPIs in there, which are standard accounting ratios, but you can also customize those and put your own in. And those are necessary for things like the statement of service performance. If you have multiple organizations that you need to consolidate, we can bring them all in and do consolidated reporting together out of those, and then benchmark against budgets and other things, and then a whole heap of charts and graphs to give you ways of looking at data in different ways. So before I open up the software, if there's any questions, Sean, happy to have a pause now and answer them.
Hey Mick, we don't have any questions at the moment, so I think we're okay to proceed.
Okay, in that case, I'll keep going and keep waffling on here, but feel free to ask questions if you need me to clarify anything along the way. So the intention with Calxa is that I'll just show you firstly how you connect to your accounting data. So here in organization management, you go create new from, and then you select what version of MYOB you're using. So the classic, which is the Premier 19, or those ones, the Account Right Live, which is the current Account Right, and then MYOB Essentials. I'm assuming for now that you're all in New Zealand, not in Australia. And if you're using QuickBooks or Reckon or Xero, you choose that option as well. And then once the organization's in, it's just a matter of clicking the update button whenever you want to bring in the latest data from the MYOB file. And then the end result, let's start at the end, is one of these report bundles. And I've got two set up here, one for tier 3, one for tier 4. And it's just a matter of click display bundle, and it will give us our reports. So that's just a cover page. So you can, there's a document editor in here where you can edit the content of that, or you can copy and paste pretty much anything from a Word document if you need something more complex. You've got a table of contents there, copy and paste the auditor's report in there, the basic entity information, you know, the legal name, purpose, structure, that sort of stuff, contact details. Again, document to edit there. Statement of service performance. This is based on our KPIs. So this is the actual, this is more the non-financial stuff. And I'll show you in a moment where we enter that information. But useful information for, you know, not just for this report, but for management of your organization generally. Description of outcomes, and so there's a bit of text-based stuff there to put in. A statement of receipts and payments. So these numbers have come directly from MYOB. The standard reports do have some headings to report under, and regardless of how your chart of accounts is set up, we've got functionality in Calxa called account trees, which I'll show you shortly, where you can actually rearrange your chart of accounts. You can group stuff so that we get the headings that are required for the reports. And in this case, I've also included the assets and liabilities as well. Ah, yeah, that one actually shows the opening and closing bank and a reconciliation of the bank. That one isn't pulled directly from the accounting software. It's done manually, but it's a fairly simple process. We are working on an update to include that as an automated one, but which is coming in a few weeks. Statement of resources and commitments. This is basically pulling balance sheet items from your MYOB file for this year and last year. And then policies. So again, text-based stuff, whether you're registered for GST or not. And again, once you've got that stuff in there once, it's there for every year in the future. There's a note on the detail of the receipts. Again, that's come from the MYOB file. And the same with expenses. So picking up this year and last year out of your MYOB file. And that doesn't matter whether your MYOB file has been rolled over or not. We'll still pick up the correct year. And then again, there's a couple of pages of notes of errors, related party transactions, events after balance date, etc. And just to show you the tier 3 one before we go into explaining how it's all been put together. So a lot of it's the same. So it's got the cover page, it's got the contents and the entity information, statement of service performance, descriptions of outcomes, different names on some of the reports, like, because it's on an accrual basis, it's a statement of financial performance rather than the receipts and payments, and this one does have a budget in it. I think the actual standard says the budget's not required, but it's preferred, I think is the terminology. But the actual comparison to last year, this year, last year, and that will come from your MYOB file. The statement of financial position, that'll come from your MYOB file balance sheet. Again, we can group and summarize things as we need to. The statement of cash flows, again, that's coming from the MYOB file with the comparison to previous year. The policies, there's at the tier 3 level, there's a bit more detail, a few more requirements on the policy and notes side of things. That analysis of revenues comes straight from the MYOB file. Same with the expenses. So it's just a detailed listing of the expenses. And then same with the assets and liabilities. So it's the detailed listing of the assets and liabilities. You need to put in basically a depreciation schedule for the property, plant and equipment. That's just text entry. We don't do any calculations on that. But you can copy and paste it in from a spreadsheet or from a Word document. And for this year and last year, notes on donated assets. Oh, sorry, what's that one there? So that's the accumulated funds, which is basically the equity accounts out of your accounting file, and a breakdown of the significant movements there of your reserves. That one has to be done manually. Commitments and contingents, typically they're not necessarily in your accounting system, so they need to be done manually. And significant grants and donations. So there's a few more notes and things in the Tier 3 report, assets held on behalf of others, those sort of things, but it's easy process to just add those in and edit that once that's done, it's fairly simple to just rerun those reports anytime. I would, looking long term, I would be preparing this well in advance of when you need to prepare it. So and potentially, using these same reports during the year as part of management of the organization, so so as much as anything else, so that you're familiar with them when it comes time to lodge them, so that the board members have reviewed them multiple times, the CEO's viewed them multiple times, and the finance person's put them together multiple times. So if there is an error there somewhere, it'll generally stick out because it will be different to what you've been used to. So let me go back a step now and just show you a little bit about how that's all put together. So we looked at organization management, where the data comes in. As I said earlier, if you've got multiple organizations, you can bring them all in and then consolidate them for the reporting. If you need to create budgets, you can, if you've got them in your MYOB or Xero or whatever, it'll bring them in when you first connect, or it'll offer to bring them in anyway. Or if they're in a spreadsheet, just use this export-import process here. Or there's the budget factory wizard, and I won't go into too much detail on all this, but it's basically just go next. You can do it either the job level in MYOB, or you can do it at the organization level. I mean, the job level stuff's not necessary for these particular reports, but you might want it for other reporting, management reporting stuff. And you just select a base year, base it on either actuals or budgets for that year, what year we're going to put it into, and you can do budgets for up to 10 years ahead in Calxa. And you can have multiple versions of your budget as well. You can have an approved budget, a current forecast, do scenario planning and that sort of stuff. And basically you just say, I want to increase my income by a percentage, same with cost of sales, same with expenses. It'll show you what difference that's making to your bottom line. And then in just a few seconds, it'll create a budget for you. And if I go to edit, I can now edit that budget and fine-tune it. So I don't want to spend too much time on that today, except while we are here, this section here, metrics, we've got actuals and budgets, and this is where you put the non-financial data that's used on that statement of service performance. So in this case, I've got accommodation nights, client contact hours, education sessions. So that's going to be different for every organization, and you can create new ones. So, so if you do, therapy sessions or something, and you can either put in the numbers month by month, or I'm going to shortcut it and just put something in the total, and it spreads it over the whole 12 months. So I can do that for actuals, and I can do it for budgets as well. And I'll put that in the total there as well. And so that gets the non-financial stuff in there. And excuse me. And the way we get the non-financial stuff in the reports then is to create a custom KPI. And KPIs are a really great way of highlighting different information when you're doing your reports to management, to board, or whatever. So my advice, and ignore me if you wish, is to take this opportunity. You have to do these reports for the government, but while you're doing it, take the opportunity to put systems in place so that you can then do regular reporting to your management, to your board. That is a simple process. And with Calxa, once you've got one of those report bundles set up, it's just a matter of click to update from the accounting software and then click to generate your report bundle. So it's worth a little bit of effort to set things up in the first place. So if I want to create a new KPI for those therapy sessions, KPIs are based either on groups of accounts, so you can, compare, so if you're doing fundraising, for example, you could create one group of accounts for your fundraising costs, one for your fundraising revenue, and then create a KPI that divides the cost by the revenue to give you a percentage. But in this case, it's even simpler. We just want our, if I could spell, I'd be good, therapy sessions. So I just create new KPI formula there. If I don't go off the screen, I'll be good. And then in the formula, there's a formula builder here that just helps me, and I go metrics, therapy sessions. If I wanted to get sophisticated, then I could create something to look at the cost of those therapy sessions. So why don't we? Just because we can. Therapy cost. So if I want to look at the cost of those sessions, let's just assume that it's all our expenses go on therapy. So I just go total expenses divided by therapy sessions and save that and calculate, and it will tell me the average cost per session. So that may not be a very realistic example, but it gives you an idea of what you can do. And so then we get to reports. Now, if you need to, if your purpose is solely to update this existing bundle, I'd just go to the statement of service performance there, edit the criteria, and in the list of KPIs here, add in my number of therapy sessions. I'm going to put the cost in there as well. Now let's just put the number of sessions. Save and close. And just to see what that looks like, you can just run one report out of a bundle anytime by just going display report over there. And now I've got my therapy sessions included in that report. There was an option in the KPI screen to remove the decimal places, which probably would have made sense, but I missed that because I wasn't paying attention. So I've got actuals and budgets, and I didn't put any actuals in for last year, so that's showing as 0. And then you can go through and, so description of outcomes, you can just, I might make the font a bit, so I think that's grow font, shrink font. This is the outcome. And So you can set the font there. You can make, at the moment we've got a fairly simple editor there where you can set the size of the font, you can make it bold, underlined, centered, that sort of stuff. We are working on a more sophisticated editor which we're hoping to have out sometime in the next few weeks. But in the meantime, if you want to do something a bit more formatted, just copy that stuff into a Word document, make your changes, copy it back again. So really simple with editing any of those. And if you're doing tables and that sort of stuff at the moment, I'd suggest you do it in a Word document just because you've got a bit more control over it, and then just copy and paste it in here, and then it will flow through with all the rest of your reports. So the basic process for getting started with this let me just find the Calxa website. So it's calxa.com. Under features, there's Calxa for not-for-profits in New Zealand. Where there's some general overview stuff, but the important thing here is that get the checklist option, which takes you to the more detailed instructions. So there's a sample database to download, and that gives you that report bundle all set up as I've just shown it to you now, and then follow these instructions here to link your own data to that sample. So it's about connecting to your MYOB or whatever data accounting software you're using, adding budgets, copying the account trees. I didn't show you the account trees yet, did I? Account trees are what we use to summarize and group your accounts, and there's two of them we use here for different reports. So I'm just showing the expenses section here, but you can see in each part of the accounts what we've got is different headings, and these headings don't necessarily have to be in your accounting software. So once you have your own organization here, you just copy this account tree, which will have the heading structure, to your organization, and then you might find, if you've got slightly different account numbers, that you have some unallocated accounts here, and you just drag them across under whichever heading they belong to. So when you're looking at management reports, that sort of thing, generally, account trees are a great way of summarizing your data and rearranging it, so you might want to look at it differently for different purposes. So that's account trees. KPIs, so that's the non-financial metrics that we've just looked at, and then in the report bundle, find the right screen, the report screen. With this bundle, if you want to keep the original one, you just click copy and make a copy of it. Otherwise, you just go to each of the reports, edit criteria, and just change the organization. In this case, I've only got one organization called sample, but you'd have two after you've connected yours. Just change the organization name there, and then it will pick up the data from your organization. So reasonably simple process, a few steps to go through, but I think you'll find it's a lot simpler than doing it in a spreadsheet. And I think one of the big advantages is that once you've got that set up once, it's there forever. And you know, when you come back to do it next year, you know, you want to review the entity information, but you know, the purpose or mission probably doesn't change very much from year to year. There'll be a bit more review done in the sort of, you know, assets held on behalf of others and related party transactions, you know, those sort of notes. But the financial data will come through this year, next year. It'll still be coming through in 10 years' time, you know, without any effort on your part. So I think the Calxa plus MYOB solution will save you time this year, but more importantly, I think it'll save you time next year, the year after, and just make this reporting a breeze. That's the overview. So as I said, on the website, calxa.com, go to features, Calxa for not-for-profits in New Zealand, and get the checklist. The other important step, review your MYOB file, make sure that's all as clean as you can get it, and talk to our friends at TechSoup. And as I mentioned, we have a donation program, which the main criteria there is turnover of less than $1 million. So that will be, you know, anybody who's on tier 4, and quite a few people are on tier 3. There are some category inclusion, exclusion things there, which I can never remember off the top of my head, but they're on the TechSoup website. If you don't qualify for the donation, TechSoup offer a discounted price as well for everybody else. So get started, practice, review. Most of you have still got a few months before you need to get these reports in, but I think if it was me, I'd be getting started on it sooner rather than later, so that it doesn't become a stressful last-minute thing. So some of the things we're working on, we've got some improvements to the document editor in the bundles coming this month, and more improvements to it next month. Next month we're also planning to have the updating from your MYOB file happening automatically while you sleep, and once we've got that working, our next update in May should have scheduled delivery of reports. So that's probably not so important for these charity reports, but in terms of wanting to deliver board reports monthly or management reports, you'll be able to schedule the delivery of a bundle of reports to the CEO, for example, on the second Wednesday of every month. So that's our plan for May. It's those. I have got some fine print at the bottom there saying that those are the best estimates at the moment. My development team's been pretty good lately, and we've been getting things out pretty much as we've expected, but there's always possibilities of things turning out to be harder than we expected, or whatever. So don't beat me up if it's June when the scheduling of reports happens, but that's the current plans. Now, Final reminder: if you qualify for the donation, just talk to the guys at TechSoup. You'll find them really easy to work with. Does anybody have any questions for me, Sean?
Great, thanks, Mick. We haven't had any questions typed through just yet, so perhaps we can give people, put it to the floor now, and if people do have questions, please type them through now. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up, I suppose, but chances now, everyone.
I will just put contact details up there on the screen. So there is a free trial of Calxa if you just want to have a look, see how it works. Tell Me More at Calxa is our general information number, and we have a free call number from Australia. We're actually based at Townsville in Queensland, but there's a free call number from New Zealand, and we have a support team here who are more than happy to help you get up and running, or if you want someone to come out to your place and do it for you, we can put you in touch with one of our partners in New Zealand who'd be more than happy to help you.
Okay.
Did you get any questions out of that, Sean?
Yeah, so we do have a question from Natasha who just asks, does the discount only qualify if direct to NFP organizations, or can an accountant who works with NFPs be able to qualify?
The discount is just for the not-for-profit organization.
No worries, thanks, Mick. And our next question is from Barbara, who's just asking, are there any online training modules for Calxa?
Yes, is the short answer. Let me just bring up the website again. On the website, under the Help Center there, we put quite a few training resources there. So there's training videos, there's help notes. The Getting Started page has got the basic stuff. We do Getting Started webinars every month, and there's recordings of those on the website. And then for those who need more advanced stuff, we do a web chat every month where we pick a more advanced topic and do a session on that, and there's recordings of those on the website as well.
Great, thanks, Mick. So looks to be the end of our questions, so perhaps we'll wrap it up for today. But just before I do close, is there anything more that you wanted to add, Mick, or are you all good?
No, I'm all good. That's just thanks everybody for taking time out of your day. If anybody wants to email me directly, it's Mick, M-I-C-K, @calxa.com. Happy to talk, happy to elaborate on anything, and happy to answer any questions if you think of them afterwards.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Mick, for presenting today, and thank you everyone for joining. As mentioned earlier, a link to the recording of the webinar and a downloadable version of the slides will be sent to you all in the coming days, so please keep a lookout in your inbox. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send them through to events@techsoup.net.nz, or if you'd like a free trial of Calxa or more details, and you can contact the address that Mick showed earlier, tellmemore@calxa.com, or Mick himself at mick@calxa.com. And lastly, don't forget to check out details of our upcoming TechSoup New Zealand conference in Auckland on the 11th to the 12th of April. And Mick will be presenting his finance masterclass on the first day of the conference on the 11th of April. So please check out our website for more details at www.techsoup.net.nz/conference. So thanks again and enjoy the rest of your day.